Beep.
A timely beep. First beep of the road. Now one might look at the present time and the present time of Not the Run and comparison to the new best. The old 5/6 of a Satan. You're most of a Dracula. Well, most of a Dracula. Decidracula? Yeah, Decidracula, not a Dracula.
You're Dracula
is a quite small
averaged
quantity.
with death.
Yes! There you go. You're Deathula. One might look at that and the environment it exists in and after a moment deduce, wait a minute, the Run could not possibly manifest. The Run, or even the Not the Run that is a new best or a doubling of the best. And that's true. That is correct. One might then follow up and say, why even bother starting another drive if number will not be pushed to new frontiers in the time available? And that's why you're not driving. Rhetorical you who wonders why you drive. You must ask, you will not know. The wise navigator drives first, then arrives at their destination. The fool chooses a destination and then seeks to drive. And during this, the third, not the run, the residual run, the extra run, the filler at the end of the runs, the run wherein I have access to pretzels, will generate valuable and unique experimental data, such as how distracting is eating pretzels while driving.
That is, in fact, exceptionally valuable data.
How distracting is having already made one's hands endure a preceding 9 hours of driving. That is a number that will only be ready to examine after the next near miss. It's a rare opportunity. Beep. By continuing regardless, we create a simulation of the state I would be in, roughly, had this in fact been the run.
Yes.
Less the fact that I have had 2 full opportunities to step away during the preceding crashes.
It's not perfectly precise, but it's something approaching end of the run, Loon.
In time, we will refine the accuracy of these approximations until they become truth. Yeah, I may resume fighting some boats, like Friday afternoon or something. Boat has kind of floated around in terms of its place in weekly cycle, since there hasn't been, like, a standout thing to grind for that I've been interested in a little while. double Atma weapon.
Hello. Hey.
Hi, it's time for double Atma weapon.
It's time.
The sound of
for
double Atma weapon. The ultimate life form.
and bread.
Twice.
Double bread. Both of you are eating bread.
I'm not eating bread. I am creating bread.
Oh, okay.
Correct. My dough is a little tacky at the moment. I perhaps made it slightly more higher hydration than I wanted to.
We will all miss Smash Mouth, but there is no turning back. He's gone now.
Smash Mouth is dead. Long
That
live
sight is
Smash
dead.
Mouth. I am currently just beating the shit out of this dough. Because what I'm looking for is, of course, the development of gluten. The nice, stretchy protein that some people can't eat, but thankfully I can.
And gluten is created by beating the shit out of bread.
Well, bread dough, yes. Out of flour in general, if you destroy the hell out of it, you can develop some gluten. Sometimes this is a bad thing. Like if you're breading something that you want to fry, you want to be as gentle with that flour as possible, because if you develop a lot of gluten on it, well, you're going to get a very tough breading.
If you mishandle the flour, it will become the Kraken.
It's true. Now, most people just use a stand mixer. I don't have one, so I have to do it by hand. If I want to make some nice gluten-y dough.
Be it noted for those cataloging the lore that Dictron likes a stand.
It's true. I am a standless person, and thus will not attract other stand users. The ideal surface to do all of this on is actually on just a flat, countertop surface.
Just surface, any
Yeah.
old surface material.
Just something that has been reasonably floured. Meanwhile, I'm just doing it in the bowl I mix it in because it's just the safest way to do it, so I won't drop it anywhere. You've developed a good amount of gluten if it stretches like a stretchy cheese.
No one in this audience should fear needing rest or leaving early. Remember, this is not the run. This is the derusting. This is the warming, the practice, the methodology, the refinement.
Oh my! I wasn't here when our previous run concluded. It seems like
it
The new
crashed
PB.
like the second I was clicking to join the call. It was a massive shame.
Near Dracula's curse.
okay. I can develop it into something of a ball, but it's still a little too loose. I'm gonna beat it against my knee now.
Yes, you see, that's the trick. If I take the number 1 slot, that announces to the world that there is a new champion, and that will inevitably draw out my rival, who is not necessarily my rival.
No, we know
It will
who
bring
our
forth
rival-
some manner of champion to destroy me. Whereas if I take the number 2 position for myself, I rest comfortably in the shadow of Klopfer. Just manipulating events from behind the scenes, waiting for the ideal opportunity to betray and dethrone them.
The chauffeur behind the chauffeur.
the shadow fur. What is our ranking now with the nearly 6 hours?
I've improved to 19th, I think.
Ooh, there's some powerful competition in the low teens. seems
Yeah,
like.
because this is still below the collection of people who actually got the 8-hour achievement. Those are all very tightly clustered together. There's just like a 20-minute window that those are all in, and then you leap forward to 6th. I must conquer the 17 out of the 18 bronze chauffeurs of Shaolin.
In the 36 chambers of the limousine, we have succeeded into the 19th chamber. Or rather, the inverse of 19th in this one. 13th? No, there it is. 17th. We're in the 17th chamber. That's it. Numbers are hard.
Just keep punching that gluten.
I'm developing as much gluten as is possible in this dough by my hands. There's actually a kind of a limit to how much gluten I can actually develop with my bit. Hold on. I'm no longer far away. I see a beep has been resounded.
Many beeps lie in our future.
Still sticky enough that I can form a very, very smooth and cohesive ball. However, it's also still slightly sticky, which is a problem. I want it to be less sticky. I could cheat and I could just go ahead and flour this a little bit. But I don't want to put any more flour in this. It's already like this is already like 2 pounds of dough. This is a lot of bread that it's going to make.
I'm gonna have to split it up into two halves actually. After it is risen some.
Note here at our 9 1/6, nearly 9 1/4 of Desert Limo Stream, I did not consider at the time that I chose the motor trap for my follow animation there, that by positioning it here on the hood, it creates the kind of impression that he's a little fuzzy dice travel friend in the vehicle,
Yes.
popping into view every so often.
Your rear view mirror dangly ornament. Our friend, Motor Trap.
That's one of my hairs. I do not want that in my dough.
Oh, ew, no. That's bad.
Cool.
It'd give it a lot of structure. I'll tell you that.
No one wants to eat your hair.
This is true. Not even myself. And I grew it, homegrown. You'd think.
Yeah, it would be more concerning if you found not your hair in the dough. The dough that you would be creating by hand before your eyes.
That's true. You're not wrong. To be frank, this dough right here would actually make excellent pizza dough.
You gonna flatten that bread?
I mean, I might.
Or perhaps take the other track, you gonna leaven that bread?
Well, I mean, it's got yeast in it and everything. It'll leave it on itself and all that.
But are you really gonna lift that bread?
I mean, bread doesn't lift.
Yeah, no. Of the things that lift, which is a very short list, bread is not on it.
I can more pretty smooth skin on this now. That's good. It still splits, so I still have a little bit more of beating it to do.
Man, I hope I don't de-leaven it. I have a problem with doing that by accident when I'm baking the bread.
I ruin my rise so it becomes dense and chewy. For some reason, all the bread dough I make seems to be incredibly fragile.
And time for 3 soft pretzels while driving. 2541. Intriguing. Valuable data.
Your PP?
Certainly on pace.
Your personal best on eating pretzels.
Yeah. I mean, the whole goal here is to speedrun this, so doing it for everything, like listening to opera.
He'd run every individual component.
Yeah. That is
See, if
just
it's a
science.
10-hour drive, but you manage to listen to 40 hours of music,
This is
while
directly counter
eating
to
2
the
months
earlier
worth of
espoused
snacks.
method of putting off the music as long as possible.
That's for
See,
real
now-
road trips. These are speed trips.
Yeah.
They're different.
Okay.
This is categories.
Mhm.
Getting into strategies.
When you talk about casual road trips, basically, that's different from speedrun road trips. Speed roads.
Roads driven quick.
Alright, I've gotten all of the flowers off the wall of this. All of the flowers? Excuse me. All of the flour off the wall of this of this bread bowl. This bowl that I'm making my dough in. Wow. I cannot speak and eat at the same time, it seems like.
Conversation and bread making use the same portions of the brain.
Yeah, it's true. Consequently, fighting and bread making and talking all use the same part of the brain.
Such is the pursuit of the baking arts.
Well, my dough is almost completely non-tacky now. It's staying.
Hour 9 and 1/3. There are 16 clips of Desert Bus, which have been saved as highlights.
Excellent.
They will merit review in the event that the runs conclude.
And my dough is being pretty cohesive at this point.
Just making bread and breathing use the same parts of the brain? If so, you might want to slow down.
Absolutely not. They do, for what it's worth. The thing that you'll realize when you're making bread, though, is that it uses all of the parts of your brain.
Baking
Every
is a
single
full
part.
mind and body experience.
It's true. Okay. Let's see how good of a ball this forms now. That's an extremely tight, very nice skin. And I can even crimp the bottom of it so it's nice and flat. You see, dough making is an extremely dangerous experience for that very reason. It uses all parts of your brains, including the ones that are involved in keeping your organs running. So as you bread make, your heart stops working for just a moment, a hot moment. You have to be careful, amongst other parts of the body.
The modern baking arts involve nullification of all but the self.
And with this, you achieve enlightenment.
And enleavenment.
Sounds just like hitting the butt.
It's perfect. I have to go wrap this up. Or rather, just, wrap the top of it. I'll return shortly.
It is quite fascinating that sometimes when you take one song and adjust its speed, it ends up sounding spot on like a song you're expecting to hear somewhere else. Which I suppose I could just as well use as a prompt for a brief car, stay on road. Brief digression from the balance and the ruin to type a word over here abouts. And turn it into this. This is Separate Ways by Journey. Or is it a Mega Man X level? X, maybe the Zero series, more specifically.
It sounds like it could be either one, really. It's got elements of both. Yeah, it sounds like it could be either one. Elements of
At this point, these songs are sped up because it makes them better. At this point, these songs are sped up because it makes them better. Anyway, that's a point made. Back to the balance.
I've returned, having performed direst bread magic.
Direst bread magic.
Ah, the blood baking.
Mm-hmm. Only the best from here.
Beep.
Hmm.
Contemplating your bread?
Oh yeah, I will be for like a day and a half. And not entirely sure how I'm gonna let it rise. It's like just over half a teaspoon of yeast, which means a relatively slow rise. You could let it do a full fermentation rise with in a fridge. You could let it do like 3 days total, hanging out in there. Get some nice complex flavors. On the other hand, I could also let it just go for about 4 hours, but actually that's not smart because it's 9 p.m. right now. So I'm gonna see if I'm gonna do like a overnight rise and then wake up early in the morning to, bake it as soon as possible, or if I'm going to. The easiest thing I could do would be let it do it slow.
When it comes to bread making,
I get kind of indecisive at times.
what do I like best? I don't know. That's not for me to know.
An aimless breadman.
It's true.
A baker without a cause.
Pastissière sans frontières.
Baked patissiers without borders.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm gonna take a chance. I'm just gonna let it sit out on the counter overnight, and then I'll see what it's like in the morning.
Putting a lot of trust in that bread.
Well, if you can't trust your bread, you're not much of a baker, are you?
You deny the gluten its purpose.
I said that my bread was a tool of justice. But now I'm not so sure.
In
And
what
this
way?
isn't my loaf.
In what way can you deliver justice with bread?
The works of the ancient smiths, folded 1,000 times.
I probably folded that loaf about 100 times while I was beating on it.
Nice, 1/10 of a Hanzo loaf.
It's true. Although, if we consider that it had only, let's say it had only one layer when I first, when I first made it. The fact that I folded it about 100 times means it has many thousands of layers at this point. That isn't actually how bread works at all, but,
The crystal structure of the bread alloy.
yeah. You see, when you bake it at the 450 for about a half hour, you end up with the bread in the super plastic state. So you can fold it and deal with it, making sure it's just right before it settles in. That's when the bread becomes markensite.
The elaborate curvature of the various transition phases, depending on temperature, pressure, level of carbon. Oh, we're in sped up dancing mad now. We're here. It's arrived.
Wonderful. You see, in a traditionally formed loaf, you don't actually put the curve into the loaf yourself. You earn that curve once you quenched it in water. The make or break moment on every katana bread.
Careful form.
Yes,
natural.
bread that you're gonna make a sword out of.
I never said that.
Just a curved slashing bread, two-handed.
Yeah. Counts as a masterwork basket sword.
Of course it does.
My favorite show on the History Channel, Baked in Fire. Or Bread Dads, as I like to call it. Throwing it out here, Bread Dads would be a fantastic show.
So long as it maintains the formula of round one, it's a standardized baked good with a gimmick source of material.
Yeah. And then the final round, it becomes the centerpiece gimmick bread.
Yes, various iconic historical breads.
We'll be having you bake the brioche bun.
Is that an actual historical bread?
Of course it is. It has been seen in such films as
That's how he died.
I'll have you bake the pan cubano. I've
The
seen
bread
such
film.
films such as Chef. Look, I had a bit of a coughing fit in the middle of the thing I was saying, okay? I couldn't help it.
Your communion wafers will be subjected.
You will subjugate your wafers.
It's hour 9 2/3 of Limo Stream. Words
No,
will
I
get
get it.
misplaced.
I get it.
Your communion wafer
Yeah, no,
will be
we don't.
subjected to a cutting test, a crushing test, and a transubstantiation test. If your wafer was not properly quenched, it will not become the body of Christ.
Nice.
How do you test that?
You do the ritual.
Yeah.
I guess you bring in a priest or something, huh?
You take communion with your wafer and see what happens. Are you cleansed of sin?
Man. Brioche is delicious. However, it's also
You had great form
incredibly
and good
painful.
technique, but you did take a risk on using human bone, and that made the wafer unholy, so it did not convert properly.
It performed wonderfully in both the crushing and slashing test. However,
It will kill your wafer.
correct, it will kill.
But we had to deduct points for theological accuracy, on the credit of it was an unholy abomination.
It did try to strangle me. It's a threat. As far as bread that I actually personally can make, I have almost universally just made bog standard artisanal rolls. As well as, I've got a dinner roll recipe, and I can also make a pizza dough and crust, so. There is a line through all of these. They are almost all universally just typical ass white flour dough, bread doughs. I bet I can make focaccia, though. Let me check it out.
Beep.
Ooh, focaccia, are you a... I think you might be a very hot oven bread. That would be hard.
The volcanic breads.
This bread is baked at an extremely high temperature, and that gives it a very, very excellent crust. I completely lost the train there. God damn it.
Igneous bread.
Now that's a pattern welded flour. Damascus rolls.
It's a little bit silly to refer to all pattern welding and forging as Damascus when you get down to it. Or rather, pattern baking as Damascus, because true Damascus loaves were baked, had little carbon nanotubes baked right into them by accident. And actually had nothing to do with the steel and entirely to do with just some reeds that they threw in there to enhance the carbon content.
Enhanced carbon.
Yeah.
The strongest metal.
Carbon. Feeling antsy about that bread. I hope it turns out good.
I can tell.
I want to bake it. I want to bake it so bad. I've got one other thing that I used to not have access to, and that I finally have some goddamn parchment paper, which will make baking that loaf a lot easier. I do believe I'll be doing it in a Dutch oven.
Well, there is bread from Damascus.
Oh,
They
yeah.
do have bread in Syria.
Yeah, in fact, they are famous for it. Syrian bread is very well known.
It's just not called Damascus bread.
Yeah. Everybody love a good flatbread. You say you don't, I'll beat you up. Admittedly, I prefer Indian flatbread to any other kind of flatbread, but still, naan is fantastic. That's what I'm getting at. Good tortillas are okay too.
Yeah, this is prelude, not prologue. The crystal doodly tune. That thing that's on like the way pre in like the save file screen and so forth. The one that's at the text crawl at the start of the first game and carried forward. That's prelude. So here at 1 hour into the third drive of the event, and a remarkable bit of serendipity on the part of the soundtrack there, we are within 10 minutes of what I would be willing to call the end of the event. Of the move.
The move. Its ending is incoming?
Having then, we'll have reached at the 10 hour and change mark, we'll have reached the point where I have at least had a block of uptime, largely uninterrupted, of the size that would be necessary to contain the run.
Correct.
And then future sessions of this, at whichever times I choose to engage in them, probably scheduled as at least a monthly thing to begin the drive to infinity, would then be about taking said time block that I know I'm able to set aside and refine it until I go from making 2 fatal blunders that cost me the run to no fatal blunders and the run is achieved. Preparing your own food is more cost effective in terms of material input and ingredients.
It is. It does cost you
Whether
time.
whether that is more cost effective in terms of your overall valuation of life is a matter of how deeply you value your time with regards to your ability to apply it to food making.
Yeah, you've got 3 options as far as food making go. Really,
Like you could make all manner of
price-
foods by just starting from water and your bread dust and so
Yeah.
forth, and suddenly you can make thousands of different things. But it takes a bit.
Here's 3 qualities. Choose 2: either time, price, or like health quality. You get things that are cheap and like tasty and all that, and that's great. This is falling apart because I'm including a 4th quality. Hold on, I'm making mistakes.
It is hour 10 of the Desert Limo, not yet actually, but soon.
Mhm.
It is sub 10 hour limo point. It is okay to have misplaced the number of axes on your breadahedron.
My brotahedron may have anywhere between
The
2
bread
and
matrix!
7 axes, and I'm not entirely sure what 3 of those could be.
I was about to say 7. I can see 4. 7.
You gotta
is a
consider price, quality, health, time, medium,
Extra
alacrity,
large, and
chaos,
order.
wood.
And my axe.
And also, yes, another thing about smithing your own various meal things is if you had various specialized cost and time-saving tools, that will greatly change the metrics, versus if you need to personally punch out all the nutrients from every mass of dough you try to work. If
Yeah,
you have
for
the
what it's-
device that you just throw the bits in there and leave it on for an hour.
Yeah, for what it's worth, ignoring the oven and the microwave and etc. and all that, I do have like $700 worth of cooking tools, which greatly speed up my cooking processes. So
You invest a
There's
fixed
that.
cost in the tools, and then receive over time the benefits of reduced material cost
yeah,
and access to deliciousness. And that
The
is
two-
why I need a $7,000 hydraulic press to open a juice box.
there we go. You got there. That is the most cost-effective thing you could possibly own, of course.
Even if you don't use juice boxes?
Of course.
You can only extract the true fruit essence if you bring it up to 10,000 degrees, and then slam the protons right in there at the speed of light.
Yeah. The Large Juice Collider. That juicer is so incredibly over-engineered, it has something like 7 specifically machined parts just for itself.
After
It
20
has
years
a-
of construction, the Juicero facility in Geneva finally opens for business in order to explore the deepest marvels of subatomic juice.
It has what do you call it? A vacuum molded just for its casing. It has the bizarre hooking it up to the internet, requiring you to goddamn have a smartphone to use it.
Well, you gotta tweet about your juice. I mean, if you aren't gonna do it about juice, what are you gonna
Socially
talk about?
networked juice. Live juice.
This may take up to a minute. I would like to go ahead and also point out that if you do not want just a rice cooker, which, I mean, a rice cooker by itself is useful and can be used in a lot of different ways, but if you don't really have a necessary need for a rice cooker, you can just get a pressure cooker instead, and this will do the rice cooking about as well.
Also, as one who wound up with access to a rice cooker due to roommates owning one, I can definitely vouch for its quality as an extreme effort-saving, lazy person food production tool.
That is also true.
You just throw things in it and power it up and leave, and then remember you started it an hour later and come back and it's fine. You can leave it alone. It's all right.
You can steam the hell out of things.
It just boils the water until it's out of water, and then it stops. It's perfect. It's the ultimate machine. And then the core ingredient of anything you're doing with it is that food that you can buy in like 40 kilogram sacks at a time if you feel like it. And just, okay, here's my next year of rice. There it is in a mound. It will keep forever as long as, you don't let rats get at it. Guard your rice.
I will eat like a full cup of rice almost every time I eat rice. I eat too much rice whenever I eat it. A rice
Mostly
cooker
have
will
a
cook
timer attached to the heating element, usually.
It will also cook it perfectly every time, and you have to worry about which pot you use when you're making normal rice by yourself.
Yeah, it is pre-calibrated to do an itself of rice and accessories.
Yeah, because it's actually shockingly easy to burn rice on the bottom if you don't use the right pot. Plus, on a rice cooker or a pressure cooker, any of the other kind of cooker like that, you can avoid burning it and also use less water, which makes it more ideal for using that rice for other things on top of that, such as using it in frying it, for instance.
Yeah,
if you wanna
using
make
it as
some
a
fried
step
rice.
one to fry or other shenanigans.
If you're just using your normal ass pot, you're probably using like what, 1.5 to 1 3/4 of a cup of water for every cup of rice. And in a rice cooker or a pressure cooker, you could go down as low as a single cup, like a 1-to-1 ratio, and that makes more useful and variable like rice qualities that you can use for different things.
You have more fine control over the molecular structure of the rice. You probably
Yeah.
temper your rice.
After you've quenched
If you
your
need rice that holds an edge, or if you need rice that's more flexible, it's going to serve as a striking surface. You just want a heavy tool mass of rice. You can do that.
in Constantinople, there is what your preferred ratios of rice to water varies between person thoroughly. Some people like that soft rice, and they go higher water. Some people like every individual grain to be distinct, and some people like that low stuff.
Some people are looking for it to dissolve into an indistinguishable mass.
Yeah,
Just a goo, just a gunge, a pudding.
get that rice porridge.
Rice flan.
Yeah,
It's
a rice cooker.
it's all of the variety of opinions you can find about pastas.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
rice. It's there. It's another grain product that is boiled.
I thoroughly enjoy my pasta very al dente.
Yeah, I would maybe argue that there's more variance with rice because al dente pasta is pretty much perfect. Rice varies.
I specifically like mine very al dente. I'm talking, I gotta work to eat that pasta. I like my pasta so well dente, I don't even take it out of the box. I just eat the box right with it.
Okay.
Look, if it doesn't bite back, you've left it in too long.
It's true.
You deny fettuccine its purpose. Yearns to bathe in blood.
Linguine is my jam. Linguine is the best of all long pastas.
Just strike that nice middle ground between the thick and the slim.
Okay, types of pasta I can definitely see a lot of variance with. Like, for
Pasta
me,
becomes more about geometry,
yeah.
because it
the
comes
long
in many
pastas, I
geometries.
actually- angel hair forever.
How do you cook your angel hair? Do you just boil it for about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then toss it in a sauce and cook it and finish it off, or what?
I mean, it depends. That's the basic way to do it, but I don't know. I have a long list of recipes that I've only made like once or twice because cooking for me, it's A, I like doing it a lot more when I'm not the only one I'm cooking for, and B, I've had a lot of experience with roommates who just leave their pots and like stuff dirty everywhere, and it just drives me insane. I can't stand to cook.
Oh, that's
Cleaning
frustrating.
up after other people, it just drives me nuts. So my experience with cooking is very on and off, but generally speaking, yeah, the simple way. I would like to experiment more, but oh my god.
The only real variance in the creation of pasta is like, does it contain egg or does it contain semolina flour as well as just normal flour, etc.?
Yeah, semolina is good.
Semolina pasta is very good.
Doing a bit of quick back-of-the-envelope while driving math. In consideration of the existing times displayed on screen here.
The two pieces of cooking equipment, well, 3 pieces of cooking equipment that I do not like personally own, that I would like to own at some point, include a stand mixer. I mentioned before I don't have one. A pasta machine, which a lot of stand mixers come with, and a pizza steel.
Alright,
Proud of
so
pizza
by a quick probing of the math, there is about 5 minutes of idle time from breaks that was not accounted for in the conduct of the run. Of the runs, you know, the tests, etc., the preambles, repeat previous statements.
So we've
Before-
got about 10 minutes left, right?
There's the number can go up. It's still moving. It's there.
Right.
I'm saying it should reach no less than 120 in order to properly uphold the premises of the simulation.
Okay. I have experimented with pizza stone before, and tragically, it broke on the 3rd pizza that I made with it. So, I'm not supremely interested in trusting pizza stones anymore. I will, however, trust a pizza steel without question.
Like, what, cracked or snapped or...
Cracked right down the middle, split right in half.
Did you perhaps mishandle your stone in maintenance?
Perhaps.
'Cause
However,
I can think right off the top of the bat, the thing that would cause such an event to occur is if moisture got trapped in it and it was then heated. Because that will happen to stoneware. of
I
the
did
right
not
sort.
I did not ever
You have to be
wash
very
it.
sure that they dry out between
Yeah.
use.
I actually washed it purely with raw arm strength and a sponge.
Hmm.
To be fair, it was a pretty cheap stone, but still.
It may have just been a garbage rock.
Yeah. stand mixer would elevate my meatballs to the next level. Because I could make a small slurry before I toss the rest of the meat in there. Of all the ingredients that more
The
evenly
slurry
distributes
phase.
it. Yeah, the slurry phase. Especially I could add like pancetta into it in that case. I own 3 Dutch ovens. I'm just throwing that out there. 3 separate ones. One no longer has a lid for it. However, the other 2 do. Unfortunately, I do use all 3 of them. Now, Dutch ovens. Dutch ovens are big, heavy pots made of cast iron. They're not a full ovens. My kitchen, however, does regularly turn it to hell because the oven that I use appears to leach its heat a little bit. So I always have to cook at slightly higher than is recommended. I'm also always using both, like, the oven and also the stovetop at the same time whenever I'm doing it. So I get real hot in front of that oven. I could get heat exhaustion.
10-hour, 10-minute, soon to be 11-minute into the stream time, hour and 20 into the third run, following 2 runs, which first, uncorked and then doubled previous personal best, proving feasibility of nearly 60% of a run. And more broadly, the other data, we got pretzel metrics and so forth worked out. I am putting increasing amounts of effort into convincing myself to let this thing just drift off the road.
I say go for it.
In celebration.
I have to hop out now anyway, so...
What say the passengers on this wild... would you like to depart? Is this your stop?
This is, in fact, my stop.
Have we conducted the move?
I think we've conducted the move. Let's just, pull out onto the side here and set up our base of operations.
Yeah,
just right out in the middle of the desert.
Just get
This
the
seems
fold-out
like a good
castle.
enough spot. We got, the mountain is right off there in the back. There's a good view of that. The hill, the other hill. We're on the grid. The lines are right here, so it'll be easy to tap in for utility service. That won't be
That's
too hard.
why they're here.
Yeah.
It's wide open space. There's the occasional rock, but not too many rocks. We can build here. We build on this land, this bold frontier.
Our land. I mean, we've got so much scrub grass here. We can turn this scrub grass into any number of things, We
Here.
can pack it down.
Here, the beep is sounded. We are home. We have arrived.
Beep.
From here, the training begins. The secret technique we will devise in the lowlands, well, the flat It might be relatively high overall altitude from sea level here in these lands. The training to surpass the. We're at the best. There's 2 hours between, or no, an hour and a half between me and Funis over there.
We will reach the 10th hour.
Funis.
These Micropolis, the dead baby juggler, copy of new folder, Count Zio, Tuna Q, Pseudonym 404, Pangajango,
There's
President
an
Evil
excellent
3,
name.
Oralin, Master Fail, Piffo, Minatoku, Alpha Rage, Gaming Nerd, 23 Skidoo, and then finally, the subtitle bout against my rival. I will destroy you, Zoe.
And with
So has
that-
been the first phase of the move.